Okay, hi guys, this is Bruno, coach from London Mets Minotaurs. Here are my takes on like buying your first glove and when it's the time to get a glove. I think basically on a general line, like you should buy a glove if you're confident you want to be playing baseball on the long run. Having your own glove is actually like a big improvement over like using like a borrowed glove, because the glove is a very personal thing. It actually like the more you use it, it actually molds to your hand. So that also like helps with developing the technique and actually getting better in baseball. So as a beginner, if you're confident you're gonna be playing baseball for like in the long run, it's a very great idea to get your glove. I think it's the most important piece of equipment and you benefit a lot from it. So like, which glove should you get? So like, I'm gonna go like, I think generally let's talk about size first. If you're a beginner in baseball and you don't know exactly where you're going to be playing, what position you're going to be playing, I think it's good if you have only one glove to have a generic glove, which we call like usually like a utility glove. Those are usually like the best utility size glove. It would be like a 12 inches glove. These gloves are like they're like kind of like medium size. They are not too small to play in the outfield, and they're also like not too big to play in the infield. So it's a kind of like do-it-all glove that if you have only one glove, it's good to have a glove that is versatile enough so that you can like move around. And it's very common in the beginning, if you're a beginner, that you're going to play a little bit in every position. In terms of like style of like what web should I get, or like there's many styles of glove, and those are like very personal. There's a few advantages and disadvantages depending on the kind of like web and things like that, but those are not very important for beginners. So I would say like any style of glove you feel like you can try them and see what works best for you. It's very personal choice. So like 12 inches, it's a good size to get started. And like, what price range should you get the glove? So the difference between gloves, like regarding like price range, usually obviously the more you pay for the glove, the better the glove is, but not necessarily the better for you. So like, I think it's like the amount of money you should spend on the glove should be proportional, like let's say your current level in baseball and how much you're going to be using and what you're going to do with the glove. So like 30-pound gloves, like on the 30-pound, the cheap on the low end gloves, let's say that cost like around 30 to 50 pounds maybe. Usually they might use synthetic leather or leathers that are not so good, and those ones, they can be good for beginners. Like if you're not like actually catching someone throwing really hard at you, they can do the job fine. They're not like obviously very good gloves, but like a good player can actually like work well with like a low-end glove. And if you're not like catching, like if you're playing with other beginners, a 30-pound glove can be fine. But those usually, what happens, like they are not gonna last very long. It might be a good glove to begin with, but you have to keep in mind like those gloves, depending on like how much you use, who's throwing at you, like what kind of like speeds you're dealing, like catching those balls, they usually last like from 1 to 3 years. Again, depending on how much you use them. If you get a little bit like a mid-range glove, like something that's like 70 pounds to 100 pounds, those gloves tend to last longer. They can last like 3 to 5, 7 years, depending again on how much you use them, like who's throwing and how hard they're throwing at you. Those are like made from like obviously better leathers. They not only last longer, but they perform well, they mold better to your hand. So there's like obviously a few advantages. Like if you're very confident you're gonna be playing, like no, I definitely gonna be doing that for the next 5 years, like I don't like you're already addicted to baseball, it can be a good investment to pay the extra price and get like a mid-range glove. Those are the ones that I usually use the most, because then again, even though I've been playing for a long time, not necessarily the top high-end gloves and then comes like the thing that I wouldn't necessarily recommend. I don't it's a very personal thing, but then again, like after that, like the top range gloves, those gloves that cost like more than 100 pounds, like 150 pounds, 200 pounds, those are necessarily not like better than the ones on the mid-range, because they are gonna last longer. They are not gonna necessarily perform better. And the thing is, like, they have much better leather. It's a way stiffer leather, so like they're actually better to deal with like faster pitching, you know, like when you really playing at a higher level where they're throwing that ball really hard, you want like a stiffer glove. But then again, that comes with a big disadvantage, which is like, because they are really stiff, they need a lot of like preparing, and they need a lot of like preparing those gloves can take like a long time. You need like to put oils into it. You need like to pound them with a mallet. So it takes a long time to actually get those gloves into like good playing condition, where they're like soft enough to actually be able to handle the ball with ease, but like not like obviously too soft that like they're deforming too much with the impact of the ball. So like those gloves take like a long time to prepare. And then again, like super premium gloves that can cost like up to $400 a pound, those like take even longer to prepare. They are great gloves, but they just take a long time to prepare. And if you see like even professional players, they several times, depending on the position they play, they actually don't get those like super premium gloves because they're too stiff, and sometimes they just don't have the time to actually get all those gloves prepared for the season. So it's a huge like disadvantage on very expensive gloves, and that's why they're not necessarily better, you know. So I would say like the sweet spot for most people, beginner adult players and like amateur adult players, it would be like the 70 to 100 pound gloves. And obviously over time, if you're really like into baseball, you can think of like investing in getting a more expensive glove. But in the very beginning, trust me, it's a lot of hassle. And you like, I had like expensive gloves that took me like over a year to actually get them to the point that they were like good for playing, that they were like soft enough, because it's really a lot of pounding you have to put into it. So I think in a general line, that would be the guidelines to get like your first glove. It's kind of hard to get like a wrong glove. It's a very personal thing. There are gloves that are better than others, gloves that feel better for you. There's a lot of like personal things on like how you feel with the glove. But generally, I think it's about like how you want to improve your game. It's a good thing to have a glove. And then again, if you buy like a cheaper glove, you start with a cheaper one. Over time, you can think about like, okay, maybe after a year, like, okay, I want something better. You can get like another glove. And then having two gloves is also like not a very bad thing. Because then like if you have like a friend or someone you want to show baseball, then you have two gloves. And if you have a ball, you can actually like take people to the park and do catch. So it might be wise to start with the cheaper glove, and then like you can improve into another one, and then you start to learn the differences between the gloves. So I guess like in general, that would be kind of like my takes on getting your first glove. And then again, thanks for watching, and you can leave a comment, like contact me to like if you want some specific advice on getting the glove. I'll be happy to respond and help you however I can. Cool.